Hey, I'm Dale, and I'm a longtime STR short-term rental host, and I absolutely love short-term renting. And I've been doing it for more than 10 years, hosted more than 10,000 guests, and I just love short-term rentals. I mean, I would never long-term rent any of my properties, any property that I own or manage. And there's nothing against those who do long-term. There's a special place in the world, of course, for those who do, and many benefits and pros and cons to long-term renting. I personally just don't like long-term renting anything. And one of the reasons why I do love short-term rental so much is because of the amount of control that a owner gets to retain with a short-term rental compared to a long-term. It's something about giving someone the key to your investment and giving them the letting them assume the entitlement of rights of your prized possession, of your gem of wealth, which is real estate. There's something said about giving those rights up to a long-term tenant that I just don't think is fair. I don't think it's balanced, especially if you're in a state like California whose landlord-tenant laws are tilted in favor of the tenant. It's just, to me, it's just completely unbalanced that, you know, an owner would give so many rights to someone who doesn't have the burden of investment. Where with the short-term rental, you're not giving up those rights, or the entitlement is not there. It's a different level of entitlement that's there with a short-term guest, and that translates into a different posture, different behavior, and just a different psychological conditioning of a guest compared to a tenant. And, you know, with long-term tenant, to add to that, they move in their furniture, you know, it's their bed they're sleeping in, there's their TV that they're watching, they've decorated the house to their liking, which gives even more of a sense of ownership to a tenant. And I just don't think it's very well balanced, where with a short-term guest, well, that's your bed they're sleeping in, that's your TV they're watching, those are your dishes they're using, and you've designed a place to your liking, and they understand that, and that posture is different. They act more like a guest inside of a home. And I like that relationship so much better. And you, as an owner or as a host, or for me as a manager, retaining the bulk of the control and the posture of a owner is, to me, is priceless. I just love it. I love that relationship, and I think it's more balanced and is a more healthy relationship for both, because it's the right posture, because the one who doesn't have the burden of investment shouldn't, to me, really have more control over the one who does have the burden of investment. Another reason is the condition of the place. I mean, even if you're doing long term and you have a good tenant, I mean, when you first get a new investment property, you're going to fix it up, make it nice. You're thinking about the guests. Thinking about the tenant, you know, being happy. You're doing all these things. And after 1, 2, 3, 4 years, the tenant moves out, and that excitement that you had when you were fixing the place up, now you have to go back in and try to refresh it, try to bring that spirit back. And it's so hard to do, because when you have a long-term tenant, they also bring in this spirit of entitlement that it's hard to get out. You know, it's hard to get out the space. And I think that's why, you know, there's so many slumlords, is because it's really exciting when you first get a place and you flip it and you make it nice, and then someone comes in and it wears down as a holding, and you try to spruce that back up again. After a while, you get tired of doing that. Well, with short-term rentals, the place is constantly being kept, it's constantly being cleaned, and the guests are treating your place with a different type of attitude, different type of behavior, to where it always maintained. The day you finish your remodel, 10 years later, it still looks and feels the same. The energy is still the same. And so that's another dynamic. It kind of maintains that excitement of day one, of when you got your investment property, and it's not really a wear and tear situation on the place. And even like in a spiritual type of sense, that entitlement spirit is just not inside the building, and it just feels good. It feels good. There are many of my short-term rentals that I've had for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Every time I walk in, I feel like, man, it feels like day one. It actually feels like better than day one, because with each guest, the place just gets better and better and better. It's like increasing value. It's like a fine wine, and it just feels good. Enter into those properties that are short term. It doesn't feel like a real weight. Never feels like a weight, right? And so when you have a long-term tenant, like I said, they bring all their stuff in there, and you just don't have the same amount of control. So the condition of the place is different. The feel is different. The excitement is different. And like I said, the control. Another thing is I love about short-term rentals is when it can also pertain to the amount of control, is owners get to use their places when they want to. Like, you can't go to a long-term tenant and say, hey, you know what? I got some family coming in. I got a guest coming in. I want you to move out between, this week and come back, 2 weeks later, because I want to come and enjoy the space for myself. Well, you can't do that with long-term. But with short-term tenants, you can just go ahead and close your calendar up. The place is in pristine condition, and I get a lot of owners that say, hey, look, close the calendar up. I'm bringing my family in. We're going to have a good time for the weekend, or celebrate a holiday. We want to celebrate the holiday in this area. Or I have some friends coming in town. I want them to use the Airbnb. Can you close the calendar up? See, that's a different level of control. That's a different level of this is a better flex that I think an owner should have over his property, his or her property. And so so those are probably the three main things. It's that level of control, the entitlement, you're not giving up your rights on that, and the condition of the place, and the ability to be able to use your space whenever you want to use it, right? So I love it. I'm going to continue doing it. Of course, I am a short-term rental host. So, if some people who need help with managing, or would like their places to be managed, or you're doing a flip and you want to keep that same condition of the first day, you want it to maintain 10 years from now, or you just remodeling a place and you just don't want it to be worn down by a long-term tenant, you don't want to give up your rights, definitely, let's communicate. Hit me in the DM. I can give you some tips. I know a lot of people, a lot of owners, especially flippers, a lot of owners don't want to deal with, if they do short term, they don't want to deal with the ins and outs and all the guests and all that kind of stuff. They really just want to just be hands off. And so those are some of the services that I provide to owners. And like I said, building good relationships, getting high profits. And this is the thing with short-term rentals as well. Yes, I'll go ahead and get this point, that there's no cap on income. There's no cap on income potential with the short-term rental. So you can have a short-term rental that can make, say for instance, typically on your house that you'll get $3,000 a month for is capped every single month with a long term. You're going to get that $3,000 a month. Great. It just reminds me like a corporate job. I mean, I'm a business guy, so I don't like to have caps on my income potential, right? And so with a short-term rental, yeah, you might have a couple low months, but you might have, that same $3,000 property, you might make $9,000 on, or $12,000 on, or $6,000 on. I just don't like to cap the income of anything. I don't like to cap my own income. And so it's just a mindset I love about short-term rentals. And so anyway, hit me in the DM if you want to chat about that. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and go ahead and go out there and have success with your short-term or long-term rental.